Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. Libby is getting ready to go back to school, but she is not looking forward to it. She has been nervous all week about the things that could happen. Libby chats with Margarita and tells her everything she is worried about. When Libby wakes up to her mother calling, she realizes she is late and she can't find Margarita anywhere. Margarita goes to school. "Hi, Mom, what's for dinner?" Libby asked as she stepped into the kitchen, her headphones hanging around her neck. "Need any help?" "I made some spaghetti and meatballs, nothing fancy. Why don't you take the garlic bread out of the oven for me while I drain the spaghetti? And don't forget the oven mitts. I don't want you burning yourself." That's what I smelled. I think I've developed Margarita's sense of smell. Just knew it was garlic and butter. Yum, Libby said, carefully setting the garlic bread on the counter. Libby's mother dished out huge plates of spaghetti and meatballs, and as they sat down to eat, she asked, "So, where have you been all afternoon? It's been so quiet. I thought you might have gone outside." "Just the usual, tidying up my room and studying French so I can catch up," Libby replied with a smirk, knowing how much she disliked French. Her mother laughed. "Your room is tidier, I'll give you that. But your French? You might want to think about getting a tutor this year." "I'll figure it out. I've been listening to French music. Maybe that'll help." "Where's Margarita?" "She was napping in my room while I read and listened to music, but then she disappeared. She was out here a bit ago. Don't worry, she'll show up when she smells dinner. She has been spending more time with you lately. I guess she knows that you will be going back to school tomorrow, and she is trying to get as many pets and cuddles as possible." "Yeah, maybe," Libby murmured, her voice trailing off as she thought about school. After cleaning up, and as her mom fetched Margarita's special bowl, Libby said, "You're not going to try feeding her cat food again, are you? You have been trying to feed her cat food forever. Just give her pizza, it's what she wants." "I know, but it's like a fun little game we play now," her mother replied with a smile. "Margarita, here, kitty kitty, it's dinner time." With a thump, Margarita leapt down from her hiding spot, tail held high, and trotted into the kitchen where Libby's mother was waiting with her food. First, she tried to give Margarita a drink of milk, but she wouldn't drink it. She just snorted and walked around in a circle. Then her mother brought her a bowl of tuna, but Margarita would not eat it either. She just snorted and meowed. Then Libby's mother tried giving her pizza-flavored cat food, but Margarita would not eat it. "You are one unusual cat, but I wouldn't change you for the world," Libby's mother said. Walking to the fridge, Libby's mother brought out a cold piece of pizza, heated it in the microwave, and gave it to Margarita, who started to purr very loudly and quickly devoured it all up. After dinner, Libby went to her room with Margarita trailing close behind. She picked up the book she was reading from her bedside table, but the words seemed to blur on the page. Usually when she read or listened to music, she could lose herself completely, blocking out the world. But tonight, her thoughts kept drifting back to school. She was super worried. She glanced at Margarita, curled up at the foot of her bed, purring softly, a steady, soothing rhythm that usually calmed Libby's nerves. "Margarita," Libby began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been nervous all week, and I don't think even Mom has noticed. I don't want to go back to school. Or maybe I do, but what if it's just like when I first got there?" She reached out to stroke Margarita's soft fur, taking comfort in the feeling. Margarita looked up at her with wise, squinting eyes, as if she understood every word. "It took forever for anyone to talk to me last semester, and everywhere I went, it felt like people were staring at me, like I was some sort of crazy person for starting in the middle of the year. What if my friends don't talk to me? What if no one talks to me? What if the teachers forget my name?" Libby's voice wavered. "Maybe it's safer to just stay home." Margarita head-butted Libby's hand, meowing softly, as if to say, "You're not alone." Libby smiled despite herself. "I know I need to be brave and take each day as it comes, but it's hard sometimes. It would be a lot easier if you were there with me. Can you imagine it? We could study science together. You'd love it. And you'd see how fun English class is. French, though, well, we'd both probably fall asleep. It's not very fun at all." "They even have pizza for lunch sometimes," Libby mused, "though it's not as good as Mom's. But I bet you'd eat it anyway." Libby laughed at the thought of Margarita following her around the school, imagining her cat's curious face peeking out from her backpack or sneaking a bite of cafeteria pizza. Margarita stretched lazily and meowed. Libby gave her orange cat a final rub as she got ready for bed. As Libby drifted off to sleep, Margarita curled up beside her, purring softly. It was quiet and peaceful. For a few precious hours, Libby's worries melted away, replaced by the gentle rhythm of Margarita's breathing and the promise of a good night's sleep. But the calm didn't last. It was morning, the first day of school, and Libby overslept. Her mother stormed into her room. "Libby, aren't you ready yet? It's the first day of school and you don't want to be late." Libby rubbed her eyes. "I don't know what happened. Maybe my phone malfunctioned and caused the alarm not to go off." "Well, you don't have time to worry about that now. Hurry and come to have some breakfast." Libby tried to talk to her cat, but Margarita was nowhere to be found. Libby quickly put on her favorite clothes, jeans and a baggy t-shirt, and rushed through her morning routine, her anxiety growing with each passing minute. She barely had time to eat breakfast, let alone dwell on the anxiety bubbling up inside her. Everything felt a bit off. Her shirt was wrinkled, her hair refused to cooperate, and she was sure she'd forgotten something important. "Is your bag all packed?" her mother asked. She seemed more nervous than Libby, who was having a hard time eating breakfast because of the butterflies in her stomach. "I packed it yesterday, Mom. There isn't much to take on the first day anyway, just a binder and pens and that stuff. Hopefully the teachers won't give homework." "Try not to keep your headphones on all day, okay? And remember, sometimes you have to talk first. Don't be so shy." Okay, Mom, I know, Libby said, shoving the last piece of toast into her mouth. Her mother always told her that sometimes you need to try speaking to people first. As she grabbed her backpack from the corner of her bedroom, she noticed it felt a little heavier than usual. But with all the rushing, she didn't think twice about it. There wasn't time to investigate. She was late. With one last glance at the mirror, Libby slung the bag over her shoulder and dashed out the door. She arrived at school, her heart pounding, as she joined the streams of students making their way inside. The familiar hum of chatter filled the air as she walked down the hallway. She didn't quite feel like a stranger this time. Some classmates said hello and others waved. The teachers she met in the hallway even remembered her name. As she approached her locker, Libby felt a faint, unusual movement in her bag. She froze, her eyes widening in surprise. Was that Margarita? She gently set her backpack down on the floor and unzipped it just a tiny bit, peeking inside. Sure enough, 2 bright green eyes stared back at her, and Margarita let out a soft, almost mischievous meow. Margarita! Libby gasped softly, quickly zipping the bag back up before anyone could notice. Margarita, what are you doing here? She whispered, trying not to giggle despite her surprise. The cat had somehow managed to sneak into her backpack and come with her to school. I was just joking last night, you silly cat. For a moment, Lily panicked. How was she going to keep a cat hidden at school all day? Would she get in trouble? But as she thought about it, a small smile crept onto her face. Maybe this was exactly what she needed. Margarita always made her feel better, and having her here gave her a sense of comfort. As she walked to her first class, Libby felt the butterflies in her stomach start to calm down. She could feel Margarita shifting slightly in the bag, settling in as if to say, "I've got your back." That thought made her smile, and suddenly, the idea of walking into class didn't seem so terrifying. When Libby reached the classroom, she took a deep breath, adjusted her backpack, and walked in. The room was already half full with students finding their seats, chatting and laughing. As usual, she felt the eyes of her classmates on her, but instead of shrinking back, she remembered Margarita's quiet, steady presence behind her. "Hi, Libby," one of her friends, Emma, called out, waving from across the room. "Come sit with us." Libby hesitated for a split second, but then she felt a soft nudge against her back from within the bag. With a deep breath, she smiled and walked over to join them. "Hey, Emma, how was your summer?" As they chatted, Libby found herself relaxing more and more. Margarita's presence seemed to give her the courage she needed to speak up, and soon she was laughing and joking with Emma and a couple of other girls who joined them. For the first time, she didn't feel like the new kid anymore. Later, as the lunch bell rang, Libby slowly made her way to the cafeteria. She found a quiet spot at the far end of the room, away from the crowd, and gently opened her backpack. Margarita's head popped out, her nose twitching at the smell of food. "You're a sneaky one, aren't you?" Libby whispered with a grin as she picked up a slice of pizza from her tray. "I'm pretty sure this isn't as good as what Mom makes, but I bet you'll eat it anyway." She tore off a small piece and handed it to Margarita, who eagerly took it, purring with satisfaction. Libby couldn't help but chuckle. The sight of her cat munching on school cafeteria pizza was pretty funny. Just as she was about to take another bite of her own pizza, one of the boys from her class, Oliver, walked by and stopped. "Hey, Libby, who are you talking to?" Libby's heart skipped a beat. She quickly closed the backpack, but not before Oliver caught a glimpse of Margarita's tail flicking out. His eyes widened in surprise, but instead of calling attention to it, he just grinned. "Is that a cat in your bag?" Libby blushed, unsure of what to say, but Oliver just laughed softly. "That's awesome. Don't worry, I won't tell. My dog tried to follow me to school once, but didn't quite fit in my backpack." Libby relaxed, laughing along with him. "Yeah, Margarita just kind of snuck in this morning." "She looks like a pretty cool cat," Oliver said with a smile. "See you around, Libby." As he walked away, Libby felt happy. Not only had she survived the first half of the day, she'd also managed to keep Margarita hidden and made a new friend in the process. The rest of the day went by in a blur, with Libby feeling more confident than she had in a long time. By the time the final bell rang, she was exhausted, but content. As she walked home, she couldn't wait to tell her mom about her adventurous day, though she might leave out the part about the unexpected guest in her backpack. When they finally arrived home, Libby opened the front door and let Margarita out of the bag. The cat stretched and yawned, clearly pleased with her day's adventure. "Well, Margarita," Libby said with a laugh, "you definitely made today unforgettable. Maybe I can handle a new school year after all." Margarita meowed in agreement, rubbing against Libby's leg. As they headed inside, Libby knew that with a friend like Margarita, she could handle just about anything. And that is the end of our story. Good night. Sleep tight.